Hello, this video was made specially for Professor Maria Chernat, partly because on the day that I wanted to do the presentation that I was really wanting to present, I was summoned to the immigration office. So if I have the opportunity, I will definitely still present at the exam. This is a very simple, very not edited video. I'll still present during the day of the exam, but you never know. I never know in case something happens or I have to go to the Philippine embassy, the Romanian embassy, or the immigration office again, then at least I have something to show to Professor Maria. So I read her article, The Challenges of the Knowledge Society, and that's what I really wanted to present about. So this is just a simple video, and I do have notes. I do have them, so I don't go off track too much and insert perspectives that are not central to the actual literature. Again, if I have the chance to present this in person at the exam, I will definitely do that. Imagine a place where truth was not a destination, and it wasn't a transaction either. For centuries, the university was meant to be the ivory tower, not to hide from the world, but to protect the Republic of Letters, which was kind of a sacred space where reason and culture were the only masters. But today, as Maria Chernat reveals in her searing critique, that tower is under siege. We are standing on the ruins of national culture, watching our institutions of higher learning transform into what she calls a multiversity. This isn't just an evolution, it's a betrayal of the classical foundations laid by thinkers like Kant and Humboldt. The pursuit of knowledge for mere intellectual curiosity has been abandoned. Personally, this is just a quick insert. I really love how Maria Chernat, the professor, even talked about how it looks like a business now. Like, you can't get funding. Universities can't get funding if their research doesn't have like an immediate, like very obvious result, stuff like that. But I liked that part. In the place of intellectual curiosity, instead now we have what appears to be commodified knowledge. Information that is only as valuable as the price tag that a corporation is willing to put on it. But the question is, how did we get here? Maria Chernat, in the paper, she points to in my opinion, a very cold reality, which is when the state retreated and public funding for universities was slashed. Our schools were forced into what she calls academic capitalism. They were thrown into basically kind of a cutthroat international market, forced to compete for students like customers and grants like venture capital, basically. This led to a phenomenon that the author describes with a term I found a little bit chilling and interesting at the same time. Asymmetric convergence. So personally for me, I've never studied that before. I've never seen that until I read this paper. So while the universities are being forced to adapt corporate values like efficiency, profit margins, and managerial hierarchies, the industry itself remains mostly untouched by the real academic values. Corporations are not becoming more open or dedicated to the public good. They are simply colonizing the university, reshaping it on their own image with their own agenda. So one of the things that Maria Chernat writes about is, so I don't know how to pronounce this, Wilhelm von Humboldt, I'm not sure. He defended the university as a place of spiritual guidance for the nation against bourgeois utilitarianism. But after the protests in 1968, the state realized that the university was no longer just a servant. It was a site of basically an intellectual revolution at the time. But the punishment was the starvation of funds. I don't want to talk about that. That's going to make me sad because I relate a little bit under my current circumstances, which led to the rise of the managerial ethos, which is basically we see the exile of real intellect and intellectual curiosity in favor of the expert, the paid expert. If you want to see the smoking gun of this crisis, we look at an example given by the professor who wrote this, the Berkeley-Novartis controversy of 1998. Maria Tronat highlights this case as the moment that the mask fell off. UC Berkeley, a land-grant university built on a populist mission to protect the little guy, metaphorical little guy, and the laboring masses, essentially signed a deal that we can describe as kind of like an auctioning of the whole institution, of the whole department. And then there was a pharmaceutical grant. I forgot how to pronounce that for a second. Novartis, which they were given unprecedented influence over the research agenda. And a lot of problems can come from when a scientist's truth threatens the corporate bottom line. In the case also given by Maria Tronat, which is the case of Professor Ignacio Castañeda, he did exactly what a scientist is supposed to do. He looked at the evidence, he published research showing that transgenic DNA from corporate engineered crops were contaminating the acres, the land, and the plants in Mexico. He spoke a truth that was inconvenient for the biotechnological giants who were making a lot of money, basically. And because of that, he was essentially destroyed. He was denied his own tenure through a process that Maria Tronat shows was infected by committees linked to the very agreement which he criticized. It took kind of a revolt, a revolution of 300 faculty members and years of legal action to save his career as a scientist, basically, because he said something that was true, but I guess that I'm not going to comment. So now we're living in what Professor Maria Tronat calls the audit society. Our professors are no longer judged by the depth of their thought, but by their accountability to the ledger, and more importantly, if they are essentially profitable, they're forced to justify every penny that they earn, sometimes through efficiency and low production costs, replacing the democratic method of the academic senate with the corporate hierarchy. So we have to ask ourselves, what is the point of a university that knows the price of everything, but knows the value of nothing? Maria Tronat warns that if we continue to treat the knowledge that we receive, that we may or may not even use in our day-to-day lives, hopefully we get to, but in either case, if it's just private intellectual property, this knowledge, or even the professors are like now intellectual property of the people on top, rather than a public good, we risk what the author, I believe she called it frankenfoods, that's the term I remember, while the research that could protect us is hidden behind corporate patents. So a lot of people are losing their ability to think critically, because critical thinking doesn't have a high return of investment. If the university is no longer a republic of reason, just another branch of the global market, then we haven't just lost an institution, a lot of people might have lost their future. Is the university still a beacon of truth, or is it just a ruin inhabited by managers? That's a question, and it's broken down into really good detail in this amazing piece of writing that I had the opportunity to read, even though I'm always going back and forth from like the Philippine embassy to the Romanian embassy and the immigration office, which is why I cry every day. Anyway, so it's a really good paper, and I think the answer to that last question is we have to be very aware of how universities are being handled, which obviously I'm not in that job market at this time. I'm not in that profession, but I think the author would agree. That we need to reclaim the pursuit of knowledge for its own sake. Thank you.